Hi, everyone. It's Chelsea with PrintsWell. Thanks, you guys, for joining us today. We're so excited to have Frances Ledgewood of Ledgewood Fine Stationery with us for our live Q&A today. I did want to mention PrintsWell University. It is part of the live Q&A is part of PrintsWell University, and it's our free educational resource for you guys. We have blogs on there, tutorials, guides, templates, really anything that can help you grow your stationery business. If you haven't checked it out, you can check it out anytime at printswell.com. So I'm super excited that this is part of that. Okay, so Frances will be giving her presentation first, and then we're going to open up the live Q&A. We're actually going to start with some questions that you guys put on your registration, and then we're going to move into the live Q&A section. So just drop them in the chat, and we will do that at the end. So we won't be answering any questions until Frances is done with her presentation. This will also be recorded, so if you have to jump off or anything like that, I will send an email to you guys by the end of the day. So with all that being said, Frances, it's time to start the presentation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chelsea, and for PrintsWell for having me today. I'm so excited to be talking about Ledgewood Fine Stationery from concept to creation for Chloe Holladay. If you don't know me, my name is Frances Ledgewood. I have owned Ledgewood Fine Stationery for the past 11 years. But before that, I got my start originally when I was in high school, which was over 2 decades ago. I'm like really showing how old I am now. But I have been in the industry for 2 decades now, and I have seen trends come and go. I've seen classics remain. My passion for wedding paper goods, save the dates, wedding invitations, the day of details, it runs in my blood. I absolutely love paper. And so I'm super excited to chat more about my love for paper and what our process looks like, and specifically with our wonderful bride, Chloe. So if you don't know Chloe, Chloe Holladay was a majorette, a Crimsonette at the University of Alabama, and she is now a majorette for the Tennessee Titans. And she is just so much fun, and she is extra in all the best ways. So when I originally started working with Chloe, I'll tell you how all that be, excuse me, how all that started. So behind the design for Chloe and Colin. So, establishing the wedding brand. So, Chloe and I first started working together. It was kind of a crazy connection. So, our mutual friend Dustin, which is Creative Dust Photography, so she has taken Chloe's pictures for years and years and years, and they that was her wedding photographer. Well, back before Chloe had started any of her design, she was trying to create a wedding logo herself. Well, Dustin had tagged me in a comment saying, "You need to talk with Ledgewood Fine Stationery." And that is how we got connected. So before I knew it, Chloe and I were messaging each other on Instagram. And the next day we had a call. And kind of what that looked like is Chloe got to explain like what she was looking for in a wedding logo, for wedding stationery, her vibe for her wedding. And we just hit it off. And by the end of the phone call, it was like, send me the next steps. Let's get started. So, what that looked like was putting in a deposit, signing our contract, giving us over the information we needed. And really, at that point, she was very much interested in starting her wedding logo because it was very important to her to carry that on throughout everything. And if you've been following Chloe and her wedding experience, she literally put it on everything. I'm even talking like cowboy boots or cowgirl boots. So it's been so fun to see the logo that we created on all kinds of things. So how that started was once we started working together after our call, we started working on the wedding logo, and we she kind of told me different ideas that she liked. She wanted it clean and simple, but still a little bit of a modern flair. So these are some of the initial designs just here at the bottom with their initials that we put together. And then the one we landed on here is the final design on the left. And if you notice, it has the year 2026. This is something that we had two different logos for her. And as we started working together, I realized that we needed to separate things from social media and then like reality. So she didn't want everyone knowing the exact date. until closer to time. Literally, she didn't reveal that till the week of the wedding. With her being, having a certain status about herself, she knew that we didn't want to show those things. So we changed dates, we changed, little things like that, so that we could share them on social media without everybody knowing her address or knowing her wedding date, all those type things. So this was the one that was for social media. And those are the ones I got pictures taken of, and all the things that anybody before the wedding would see would have just the wedding date on it. So then her and Colin went back and forth. They picked which design they liked. It was a very collaborative, back and forth with all of us, and it was just super fun to bring it to life. So we'll move on to once we had the logo established, we knew we needed to get on the design for the save the dates. Well, Chloe from our first call knew that she was going to use a mirrored aisle for her wedding ceremony. So she wanted to include elements of mirror, and she just had this vision to do a mirrored save the dates. Have I ever done anything on mirror before? No. Did I figure it out? Yes. And so that was fun. So I was basically to bring this to life. We started first with the design because I knew we could design something. We went back and forth with her fonts and the layout and the look. And then on my end, after she was going back and forth with designs, I was finding the perfect printing partner to do the mirrored element of it. So I knew we wanted quality, we wanted, all the things. Then we also needed to see like, how will we mail these? Are these mailable? So what we ended up landing on was this beautiful arched mirror, and then it was printed on top of there. And then with PrintsWell, we did the belly band, we used mist envelopes, we did a liner, and then we also did an insert card about celebrating. So same thing here. Basically we had two different sets of everything for Chloe. So we had the social media one where we just did a little blurb about let's celebrate this and that. The real life version had where, you need to keep this information to yourself. It had their wedding website, it had the password, it had all the real details on the date on the real save the date. So when we started showing these, Chloe was posting them. Basically, social media exploded saying it just has the month and it's a save the date and yada yada, and then there's like, oh, here's her address. And it was like, people know, like we thought about this and we left the date off. We put the month and the year, all these things so we could show how beautiful they were without spilling the beans of the actual date. One of the other things that was very important for Chloe was calla lilies. She knew she was going to be using those throughout her wedding ceremony and the reception. So she wanted to have like a little nod, a little glimpse of those. So that's where we thought, what if we include that in the liner of the envelope? So that was just a fun little pop of color there. And then how we came up with using the mist envelopes was she was using lots of champagnes, lots of neutrals. So I suggested, like, let me show you this envelope, and then what if we do a belly band in the same color? So we did. And so it just turned out lovely. And then that nice little belly band just kind of kept everything tucked in together. And then we digitally printed the envelopes and sealed them. We used a non-machinable stamp so that these mailed out, and they mailed out beautifully. So this was the save the date. And this kind of moves into like, what was the wedding invitation going to look like? Are we going to bring in one of the mirror elements? I knew exactly where I thought the mirror element would look nice, and let me show you. So here we go. So here is a little sneak of, this is actually the envelope for the main invitation. And as you can see, we printed their names, and this is their wedding year, wedding month and year, and then Ledgewood, and then Nashville's where they live. So we kind of just made this fake address. We did two of the non-machinable stamps, which is how we mailed the main invitations. So, and in the green, we just liked it pulling in with some of the other colors. It was a non-machinable stamp. So we went with that for both the save the date and the main wedding invitation. So here we go. So developing the main wedding invitations. So if you look here in this middle picture, you can see there's another mirror element. So I just love a tab card. And typically, it's either paper or a die cut. maybe a wax seal goes in that place. So we were thinking like, what if we do a mirror element there, bring in the wedding logo. So I worked with a wonderful vendor to bring that to life. And then we put little slits there so the ribbon could actually thread through their little mirror tab card. It was so cute. So we just absolutely loved that. And then we brought together all these different elements. So Chloe she knew from the very beginning that she knew what the aisle was going to look like, the mirror aisle, and then she was going to have these floral arrangements around the top. Colin was going to make these two floral crosses on either side of where they say their vows, and she wanted that to set the scene on her wedding invitations. So if you look at this main picture in the center, you can see to the left when the gatefold is closed, that was a custom sketch by our artist of the actual ceremony. And then we put their names on the front. And then when you open it, we put the calla lilies again on either side to have that little nod of the beautiful florals that they'd be using. We did several test prints for the color of the ink. So we landed on this. That was a beautiful mist-like color. So Chloe wanted to not do the gray like we did on the save the dates, but have a little bit of a softer tone there. So those turned out really beautiful. And then for the ribbon, we went through multiple different styles here. We, at one point, were thinking a lace. One point, we were thinking a silk ribbon. We went through multiple shades of different satin ribbons. This is a satin ribbon. And I just kept ordering different samples, and none of them were right. So this is one of those things, if you're a fellow stationer, you know all about how you have to pull from multiple places, multiple vendors to bring that final look together. And that's what we did. So my daughter and I, my 3-year-old at the time, we went to Hobby Lobby, okay? And we found the perfect shade. So I was literally at Hobby Lobby pulling these different ribbons. And I was texting Chloe, like, which, and she's like, that's the one, So we ended up getting this ribbon. And then, funny story, Hobby Lobby, they're on small rolls. So there was not enough. So my mom lives in a different city. So my mom went to her Hobby Lobby. Then she went out of town. Like, we had everyone getting ribbon around the state for Chloe's invitation. So we ended up getting plenty, and then we cut it, thread it through. We assembled all of these for her. So it was just something really fun and really special. But my parents really feel like they know Chloe now because they were involved with this suite. So it was definitely a fun time assembling these, bringing the whole look together. And then one of the things that was really important for Chloe, obviously she is like a style icon, was the dress code. So we were like, what if we do a watercolor of their outfits? And so when I was talking to our watercolor artist, Christina, it was kind of like, well, what if it's them, So Christina's amazing. And so they had two different styles, one for the rehearsal dinner and then one for the actual wedding ceremony and reception. So here you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, like the white on white, that was for the night before. And then for the actual wedding, it was like neutrals, very, very taupes and browns, beiges. So we had those custom painted for her. So on the back side of each card for the rehearsal dinner or for the dress code card, it had those beautiful watercolors for people to have a visual of what to wear, different ideas, inspiration. So that was just a fun little extra. And it was like totally for Chloe. And it was just such a hit. And then next, I've already talked about the stamps. And then we had a response card. They had it where they would respond back on their wedding website. And then for the liners, Chloe wanted something very simple. She really just wanted the Hubbards. We brought in that same font, and everything was just very clean, light and airy and fresh. Then we brought in, the nods to the lilies, to her ceremony, to their initials for the mirror tab card, to her love for fashion. So we really just kind of brought all of it in together, and they were just so, so great to work with and to bring these to life. We decided to go with just a single envelope for these, and then we mailed them with the two non-machinable stamps to keep with the save the dates, and they mailed out beautifully. So this was just really fun, a great aesthetic, and they very much went well with pairing them together with the save the date. So once their guests received the save the date, that was just like a showstopper. Then they received these in the mail that tie together to it. So it really set the tone for what was to come for their amazing wedding. So I've kind of touched on this. Here's kind of some up closes of those meaningful details. So you can see the sketch, some of the calla lilies. Here's just like the sketch of the actual ceremony itself, up close details of the mirror and the tab card with the satin ribbon, just all of that just really tied together beautifully. So now let's get to the one everyone talks about. So this was so much fun. So one of our calls, so we had several Zoom calls with Chloe where we could talk about ideas, things that she was excited about. And one of the things she was really excited about was instead of a traditional bridesmaids luncheon, she was having a bridal dinner and it was going to be black and white theme. She coined it the last holiday since that's her maiden name. And we just started rolling with some different ideas and it was really fun. So yeah, she wanted like this Gatsby era, kind of feel to it. Then all of a sudden we started talking about feathers and have I ever put feathers on an invitation? No. But I was like, we're about to figure this out. So we did. So I found these ostrich feathers and they basically come like ribbon where they have just ribbon up at the top. We cut them to size and then we glued them with this double-sided tape runner on the top of the envelopes. The envelopes had the liner and then we had the wax seal. And I know this is a question I get asked all the time is how did we mail these? So how they were mailed is the envelope with the feathers, the wax seal, and the liner was actually the inner envelope. So the outer envelope was also a black envelope. It was an A7.5, so it was larger. So that's the envelope that had the stamps, the guest names, their address, the return address. That envelope was the outer envelope. We needed two non-machinable stamps on those. And we went with the floral, I mean the butterflies with the black little wings because it just tied in nice with the black envelope color. And that is how we mailed them. And all of these things we printed with PrintsWell. So that is so fun. So we did the notched corners. That was also a little nod to the save the date and the wedding invitations that had notched corners. We brought in that black and white for that color scheme that was important for her. And then on the wax seals, we simplified the logo where it was just their initials versus the date or the year, just so it would be a nice wax seal. And we went with a square shape. And then we just put that right on the envelope. So it actually doesn't seal, it just opens right back up. So I actually have one right here, and here it is, and you see it just opens straight up, and then the invitation goes inside of there. And then to put these in the outer envelope, we did have to kind of tuck these feathers and then place it inside there and then sealed it. But it was definitely fun to work with and definitely unique. So much fun. So from the wedding logo to the save the dates to the bridal dinner invitations, every piece really we collaborated and talked with Chloe back and forth. Chloe and I were messaging each other, sending voice memos. Like it was truly very a creative collaboration to bring her vision to life. Um, all the things. It was actually featured in People, which was amazing. And Chloe's wedding has just been really fun to see all the different aspects of it, how she used the wedding logo on ice sculptures, on the dance floor, all these things that we created. So it was truly just a wonderful experience. And I know we get asked all the time about Chloe and how it was working with her. And truly, she is such a gem. I told her, I said, if I could duplicate you for every client to be as sweet and kind and like roll with it like she does, I would. Like she is truly so great. It was such just a fun experience. The day after her wedding, she even texted me, and let's see if it's on here. Oh no, this is it. So she texted me, just wanted to say thank you so much again for everything you did to make the stationery and wedding season leading up so special. Stationery is so very important and you knocked it out of the park. I couldn't be more grateful. Anyone and everyone should use you. And that really touched me that she was thinking about me the day after her wedding. So it's so sweet. She's so kind. And here they are on People with their sweet dog May May. So she is just, and he is too. It was just so wonderful working with them. working with their paper goods, bringing all of their vision to life. And you can see here, like the florals here, that's just what she envisioned that she wanted on the invitation suite. So all of it, seeing it in real life come to life for her was truly special. And it was just a wonderful experience. And moving on, so we wanted to continue growing. If you want to continue growing with confidence, I wanted to tell you a little bit more about Ledgewood Fine Stationery. This has been something that has just been so wonderful. As a stationer myself, the beginning of my business, like the first 8 years of my business, I just felt very alone. I felt very isolated. I felt like I couldn't talk with other wedding stationers. It was a very closed off kind of situation. And once I started seeing that it does not have to be that way, I love talking about stationery. I would love to give feedback or helpful hints or let me explain some things so you don't have to hit the bumps in the road that I hit. Our mentorship has been so wonderful. So we have a 1 hour strategy intensive where we just hop on a call, go through certain pain points you're going through right now or needing specific advice on a situation. Ongoing mentorship where we have several sessions throughout a month or throughout multiple months or quarterly. This one's very great because then we can check in with each other and grow from there and see what we implement into your business and how it's working. And then we also have a VIP membership, mentorship where we can get together here in my office and in my studio and go over all the things. So this is just something very, very exciting. And I love being able to share my knowledge and experience with other wedding stationers. So here's my contact information. I'm just so thankful. Thank you again for letting me be here today. I'm excited to hear your questions, your thoughts, and I'm just thrilled. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Francis. That was wonderful. And I loved seeing all of Chloe's stationery on like Instagram and stuff. It was so fun and beautiful, and just keeping up with like her whole wedding was a lot of fun.
It really was. I've loved seeing all the things.
Yes. Okay, everyone, it's time for the live Q&A. So you can start submitting your questions, and we're just going to start with some that you guys submitted when you registered. So Francis, if you're ready, I'm gonna start.
Awesome.
Perfect. Someone wanted to know if the mirrors, the ones, the save the dates, and then the ones on the invitation, if they were like real mirrors.
Yes. So this was all new to me. Let me pull one. I have it right here. So it is an actual mirror, but then it's like an acrylic mirror. So like on this is what the back looks like.
Mhm.
And then there's different thicknesses. Okay. So I wanted the thickest one. So we found this mirror here, and you can see that it's relatively thick. And then it's an actual mirror. So these were they could get very smudged easily. So we literally were like wearing gloves or like touching it from the outside like this to put them inside the envelopes.
That's really interesting.
Mhm.
Do you mind sharing what vendor you ordered those from? If you want to keep that
Yes.
private, that's completely fine.
So like I mentioned, I went through multiple different vendors, and one of my dear vendors that I felt very comfortable because I was really worried. There's a lot of vendors that I hadn't worked with before, and the pricing was less, but I would have rather have gone with someone that I knew the quality would be for. So Bella Figura printed these for me, and it was one of those things too where they figured it out for me. So we were like testing it together. And we did back and forth samples and then the size and then how it fits in the envelope. So I just knew that I wanted to make sure because it was also a large guest count. So I just wanted it. And then once we had them designed, they basically needed to be in production and be assembled and get out. So I knew I trusted like working with them. So they were the ones that actually printed the save the date mirrors.
Okay. How do you go about finding vendors? Like, let's say your bride has this crazy idea like the mirrors, and you have to go out and try to find a vendor for that. Like, do you have a
So
process?
a lot of it is research or just years of working with different vendors. A lot of it is from my wonderful stationery community where I can reach out like, has anyone done mirrors before? And I had several of actually one of the ladies from my collective from last year, she does things and she was the one that was like, there's different widths, there's different thickness, all these things. And because like, so several people that do like in-house acrylic or die cut, stir sticks, stuff like that, a lot of those vendors knew what to tell me, but it was almost more on like a smaller scale. And since I knew I needed so many, so I probably quoted out 5 or 6 different vendors, and they were all different price points. And there were several that were cheaper, but I just was worried about the quality of the actual finished product because I value that tremendously. And so that's where I ended up landing on Bella because I was like, we have a rapport, like we call each other, text, all the things. So I was like, I have this idea, we have this concept, this and that. And then that's where we ended up landing to go with. And talking about pricing and all that, even though like sometimes I would rather pay more and get that quality than go with the cheapest and it not be the quality that's to my standards.
hmm Talking about pricing for your stationery, a lot of people had questions like, how do you approach pricing? Let's say you're working with a bride and they want to add, like, let's say that mirrored save the date. Like, how do you go about telling them like that will be an extra fee for that? Um, just questions about pricing in
Yes.
general.
So pricing is a thorn in everyone's side. So if anyone feels this way, like it is like the number one pain point for the women I mentor, for my stationer groups, like all of that, because if you're in the realm of custom stationery, literally everything is different. And so, like this one, it was like, well, let me, get a ballpark. We'll see how much this is, like going back and forth. And it's kind of hard. And so, we are always constantly kind of tweaking how we approach that. A lot of times, like now, like we have a certain minimum to work with. So now it's like, this is our minimum to get in, and we give an estimate to our brides and then once we're in designing, say like, so specifically with Chloe, like we, for her wedding invitations, the scale started way up here. We were going to do custom boxes, this and that, all these things custom, but it ended up being like, okay, this is out of budget. So let's scale it to here. So we scaled it down to here where it was still a die cut, this and that, but it still wasn't right where we needed to be. So I was like, okay, well, what if we do a gatefold digitally printed to here? And then guess what? That was more of a sweet spot for the budget. So we definitely can like see the different, you can go above and beyond or you can stay here. So it really depends on the client's investment, like where they're at. And then we try to have those conversations right from when they start. So then it's not like, oh no, like this is way up here. But a lot of that, like when you're custom designing and you're adding, a sculpted embossing here or die cut here, or, this needs an acrylic, something or another. Like a lot of that changes the price. So if you're seeing that happen, just go ahead and with your vendors you're working with, see what that price quote is going to be at because it can quickly snowball to be out of control. So I don't know if that helped at all, but like I definitely teach like have a minimum to start with. And then if you see, like if someone emails you, like we've had lots of inquiries wanting those same save the dates. But a mirror save the date, it's like I said, it's not, it's expensive to create, so that's where, we had one client or one inquiry, I should say, that wanted those. And they're like, well, I only need 60, and all of us stationers know, well, we still have to do all this work to get to the finished point only if you need 60, so there's just a lot that goes into it, the quantity, the paper type, the printing method, all those things. And then to kind of just base it on like how much is this going to cost, how much time is this going to take, how much is this going to be assembly, how much is postage going to be, and then just kind of put all that together and kind of have that base price there.
Do you basically give like general pricing whenever someone reaches out to you, or do you wait until you hear all about their like what they want and create like a custom proposal for each person?
We create a custom proposal for each person that inquires. And then on our website, we have our minimum listed. Then we have three different budget ranges that they can pick within. So then we know, like, if they need, say, someone needs like 250 wedding invitations and they want gold beveled and engraving, and they have our lowest tier, investment range. We know, like, let's start you off with like, here's what digitally printed would look like, and you could add on gold foil. Gold foil would be better than, not, I don't want to say better, it'd be more cost efficient than gold engraving. So that's just where, people see certain things, or like, you get Pinterest, you get all these like the best of the best that's on the internet. And like me, I'll see an invitation suite and I'll say, whoa, that was expensive to create, just because I'm on the back end and know like all these different things. So when we see that, we actually show them we have this whole proposal where they will see 5 different images of like past work of ours. And then we typically start with digitally printed. And then they can add on engraving or letterpress or all these other things. Or with once we're working together and they decide they want extra things, then we just add on from there. So there's never, you can always add on if necessary, but all of our suites really contain either wax seals or tab cards, belly bands or ribbon. Like all of our clients typically want those things, so those are already included. And we also assemble for them. So a lot of that, we just put it all in there together because that's what our clients are wanting. And that's also what we're showing on social media, on video. Like we want to put that out there because that's what work we love doing. And then we attract those right clientele.
Awesome. When you talk about attracting clientele, this is kind of a marketing question, but how do you like attract those clients who really value your work and they're willing to invest in custom work?
Mhm. So this is something years ago, I heard another wedding vendor say, like, don't put out work images back then. I mean, it was mostly like Instagram was just images back then, but don't like say you're a caterer and you want to be doing filet mignons, don't be showing a backyard barbecue burger. Even if you don't have that clientele, like put that out there, so that really struck a chord with me years ago. And back then, like, I mean, I offered everything: baby shower, birthday party, calling card, like everything. Like, I did everything. And so it just struck a chord with me. And I was like, I just want to do weddings. Like, so at that point, years ago, I just started showing weddings. And so then over the past several years, it's like, well, now I want to invest in professional photography. I want to outsource that. I want to have it very consistent. I'm very much about consistency, where everything is just where if you see it, you hear it, you think of Ledgewood Fine Stationery. So I definitely know showing the type work you want to attract will start attracting that. Nothing is overnight. Like I mentioned, like I've been in business for my own business for 11 years, but I've been doing this for 20 plus years. So it's like I thought I had to do all the things. And then it was just like one thing after another. It was like, look, I'm going to let this go. Or I'm learning to say, like, this year, my words are no and simplify. So it's like, if it's not a good fit, I'm learning to say no to it. I'm learning to simplify my offerings, things like that. Because the more I say no, the better yeses I'm going to be able to say. And that takes time. It takes practice. It's not easy. I literally deal with it every week. Like basically every week we're asked at least 3 times to do some sort of styled shoot, sponsor something, give something. And I've been learning to say no to those opportunities just because at this point, like our client work is so full, like I don't need to take that on as well. But right now, like my portfolio is working with the clientele that I want. So now I can keep just showing that. So let's say you don't have the clientele that you want, that might be a good place to do a styled shoot. So then you can make what type of invitation you want, and then you can start showing that more. So it's definitely pushing out the type client you want, the type work you want, and just showing that repeatedly, consistently, and showing up on social media, whether it's on stories, posts, TikTok, Instagram, wherever it is that you like showing up, do that consistently and not just drop off the face of the earth, because that consistency like grows that like, know, and trust, and then they start knowing you. And then when they get engaged, they'll say, well, I want to work with Francis with Ledgewood Fine Stationery. I had one of my brides said, that I've known since I was 15 that I was working with you. And that was a compliment, you know? I was like, I didn't know her, but like that sure was a compliment that she's known me for this long and knew she wanted to work with me. So you never know who's watching, who's listening, who's seeing. So I would just be consistent, be true to yourself. That's what sets you apart is putting yourself out there. And that's a lot of what I would suggest to do to attract those right type clients.
That was great advice. Do you charge a design fee to come up with the mock-ups, or do you add your design time into the cost of like the whole package?
It's basically buffered into that pricing. And
Okay.
so what we've recently gone to is like once someone they say they want to book, they sign the contract, they pay a 50% retainer, and then we start at that point. So then we start there and then start working together. So I will not design anything until they have officially signed a contract and paid a retainer. We will not start on any of the work. And the reason I do that is because I've done it all before and gotten burned, you know. So now it's like I will not start on anything until it is official, official, official.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And someone had actually asked about your contracts too, so I'm
Mhm.
glad you went through that. Could you walk us through a little bit of your like onboarding process, and maybe if you have like a CRM or any type of platform that you use to collect their information and like keep all that about
Yes.
the
So we've
process?
actually been doing a big overhaul on our system since last October. And I had been using Dubsado, but we've been going through our workflows, our forms, our inquiry form, all of that. So I use Dubsado for that. And we have our website is through Showit. And then so basically, if you think of Dubsado, that is like the client facing portal, the management of clients. And then we use ClickUp on the back end. It's kind of like a Trello, Asana. So we use ClickUp for all of our project management. And that's how we talk to our different team members, keep up with what's coming in, where brides are in the process. So my main advice there is whatever platform website you have, and if you're using a form like or a platform like Dubsado, when someone inquires, have that form trigger to Dubsado, and then you can start organizing it because the better organized you are with all of that, it's just going to make it smoother if it's set up on the back end. And I know that because I would always be so busy with orders that I could never focus on that. Then finally I was like, we've got to focus on this and get a better process. So once someone inquires on our website, it pings us in Dubsado. It starts a card for them there, and then we gather quite a bit of information at the beginning inquiry form, and you can go look at that. And so what I like to know is basically what information I need up front to begin a basic proposal. And then we can always add to that later, but then we can see, are we a good fit? Is this an aligned investment for what they're wanting? And that kind of, I don't want to say weeds out, but it also weeds out people that we may be out of budget. You know, like I would love to work with everyone, but at this point, we just don't have the capacity to. So we do have a minimum. They have to hit that minimum. And if they want to start working together, then we go through the next stages there. So once they receive the proposal, usually there's maybe back and forth, you know, what if we add this or what if we take this away? My quantity change, you know, things like that. Or they might say, this is perfect. They'll click it. And then what that automatically does through Dubsado is sends them the contract and then the invoice for the 50% retainer. And so they can do that immediately. And then we have a workflow where then that triggers them to the next portion. And then after that, we send them a welcome box full of goodies, samples, all kinds of things. So they receive that. And then we send over their form to get all their information, and then we can start on the actual proofs.
Do you have calls with brides before booking them, or do you just have them like fill out your forms and then you kind of do everything online before they like meet with
So
you?
occasionally we'll jump on a call beforehand, before they book. This was something probably, I would say four. So I have three kids. They're 9, 7, and 4. And every time I would have a baby, something else in my business I would have to let it go. And up until I had Sophie, my 4-year-old, I would get on a call with every single inquiry. And looking back now, I'm like, how did I do that? So we've really cut that out. So most of the time when someone inquires with us, it's either a wedding planner that we've worked with, a wedding vendor that we've worked with, lots of referrals, and then other people that have found us on TikTok or on Instagram, on Pinterest, Google. So most of them have kind of been, they're not necessarily cold inquiries. Like most of them know of us or have heard of us or have been following along with us. So they know what they're getting. Now, if someone is not sure about it, in the proposal, we have where, hey, would you like to jump on a call? Would you like to jump on a Zoom? And they can book that at that point once they've seen pricing. I guess one of the big things there is we didn't want to jump on a call before they've seen any sort of pricing and it not be a good fit for their investment. And then there we have just kind of wasted their time and wasted our very limited time for things like that. So we really have found it well that when we send the proposal, they see the pricing. If they want to talk, they can jump on a call, or they even book us and then we get on a call and then we can talk more about like the design, what they have in mind, this and that, and then go from there.
Okay. Could you just quickly share the name of that vendor for the mirrored acrylic again?
Yes, it was Bella Figura. It's
Okay.
Bellafigura.
Awesome. And then if you could like tell us, I don't know, you may have to show this, so we're not going to do that, but
Okay.
how did you like secure that with the ribbon around the like
Oh, okay. Can you see? Can y'all see this?
yes.
Okay, so I don't know if that thing is showing. Okay, so we threaded it through and then we just double-sided taped it right here. So let's see if I can pull that apart. So that's tape. So we threaded all of them through like this and then put them around and then did double-sided tape right there on the back.
That's very interesting.
And a fun fact, all of these that are threaded through, so this was, I forget what month it was, but our entire team, not me, but like our assembly team, all had the flu. And so my dad came into town and threaded all of these through.
Oh my
So that
goodness.
that is where my dad is like, well, what's Chloe up to? Like he feels like he knows her because he literally threaded all of those through for me. So
He's
it was
personally
definitely,
invested in her wedding.
oh yeah. And my mom, she cut the ribbon and found like, so it was definitely like a family affair. And that just shows you like so many things. Like you see the end product. And I know like other stationers are probably like nodding their head, but like so much, we put so much into it behind the scenes to make it happen, to get it out, all these things that you would never know. So
Yeah.
like there's a lot of love went into these to get them out, and they turned out absolutely amazing.
I love it. Do you print extras of like everything you do to have like professionally shot for social media, or do you rely on
Yes.
like photographers?
Yes. So
Like,
at
what?
one point, I was ordering too many extras, I would say, but they came in handy because I could send them in our welcome boxes. I could send them, we have planner boxes for like wedding planners or wedding vendors we'll send samples to. So when it's something like really you really like or a new printing process or you don't have many of these, you could order extra. So now my standard is I order 10 extra across the board. So then our team also knows if someone orders 150, we should have 160. And then we also do two in their keepsake suite box. So they'll get two for the bride. And then we send multiple to our photographer, and then she'll take pictures of those. And then we have a few for samples because we'll be working with the bride just like now. Like I had these samples because we had extra. So I would much rather, and I tend to hoard stationery. My girls can tell you that, but like I like having samples just in case I ever need to pull it for a call, a Zoom, or a meeting. I have it. So we had extras of Chloe's stuff because I had ordered extra.
That's really smart.
It also helps you out if, say, something comes in printed crooked or like a one of the corners is, it gives you that extra wiggle room in case something's wrong with, say they ordered 150, but you ordered 160. If anything like a return address is missing, something like that that's not normal happens, you have that cushion of extras. So it's really good to just have extra in general. And then you
Hmm.
can have those for photography, keepsake suite, or just to have as samples.
Yeah, that's a really great idea. Um, if a bride wants to have an outer envelope, will that require a non-machinable stamp or extra postage? And then if you could tell us just like a little bit about what a non-like machinable stamp is.
So a non-machinable stamp is, I don't have one right here. So that is where, okay, so typically a lot of our brides, when they keep adding, like when it's thicker, there's actually, when you go to your post office to have them mailed, you'll want to have them weighed and measured and check the thickness. They have this little card. I actually have one in our studio, but I just don't have it right here. But it has a slit. And if your invitation cannot fit through the slit, it's too thick and it needs a non-machinable stamp. Or it might just need more postage. Majority of times, all of our suites typically need 3 stamps. Like right now, we're doing one that just needs 2 stamps, but I prefer also to always have more like extra postage. So this past Friday, we were mailing out an order and it was actually a smaller size, but it was thicker on the center. And so I thought it too would be good. And so when I went to mail them and check it again, because and that's also I can talk about this for a while, but like always double check before you apply postage and then when you're dropping them off because you can be told different things depending on the worker or the location. So anyway, so when I was going to mail these Friday, they told me they needed an additional 49 cents. And he was like, "Oh, well you can," and I was like, "I'm not about to put some random stamp on there." So I had brought extra of the same stamp, the forever stamp we were using, and I just added one more. So I'd much rather have extra postage than not enough postage or even just enough postage. And then for the non-machinable, that's like if it's a weird size, if it's thicker, but a lot of times you can also just add additional postage and it would be enough.
You like to be very prepared, and I love that.
Yes.
This isn't a question, but Emily Will is very excited for the collective in September. I just want to
Hey, Emily.
um, love that. Could you talk about maybe what design program you use and if you're
Yes.
comfortable, do you have the custom artwork made or do you like pull from like a website,
A mixture of it all.
a mixture?
So when we have custom sketches or like everything for Chloe's, the watercolors, the sketches, of the ceremony, those were all of our artist, Christina. And so she does all of those. She's like our quote unquote in-house artist where she does all of our venues, all of our sketches. Now I have worked with other artists depending on like the style of the client, what they're looking for. Um, and then I also like all the places, there's Adobe, Creative Market, Raw Pixel, Etsy, like to get certain elements, I can look at all of those and just make sure you get like the commercial license for it. But I've gone, what to get the achieved look, where do you need to go and just look at all the different art places to get the art if it's not something that necessarily needs to be custom painted.
Hmm. Okay, I do want to let everyone know that we're like down to our last few minutes, so I'm just going to
Okay.
go through the questions. So please don't submit anything else because it may not get answered. So let's see. Do you feel comfortable sharing how many employees you have?
Yes. So in-house, I have Ruth Ann who works Mondays and Tuesdays. She is our powerhouse and she does assembly and mailing and stamping and all the crafting things and organizing. And then we have Morgan, who's our studio manager. I know they're all watching up in the studio, so they're like, "What are you saying?" So anyway, Morgan's amazing. And then we actually just have a new addition. Her name's Gabby, and she's going to be graphic designing. So we're so excited to have her on board. And then we also have Suzanne Cunningham, who does calligraphy. She and I go way back. And so whenever we need calligraphy, she's typically the person that does our calligraphy. We do work with other calligraphers as well. And then we have Christina, who does all of our sketches and watercolors that need to be custom. She typically does those for us.
Speaking of calligraphy, someone would like to know if you have any advice for a calligrapher that's trying to like develop relationships with wedding stationers, like a partnership.
Oh, that's a great idea. Samples. Like send samples of your work. And those can even be just images, but if you have like physical envelopes, like I eat this stuff up, so if I see pretty calligraphy, I'm like, ooh, and that's also something where like we get professional photography taking of our suites. And so like sometimes Suzanne will have her do the calligraphy for it. But if you're wanting to make that connection, like for me specifically, it would be like, oh, I would love that on one of our envelopes, and then I'm going to get pictures of it, and then we could all have good pictures of it. So I definitely think to reach out, email, like really a professional email would be nice. We get so many DMs, which DMs are great and personal, but also sometimes they can be overlooked, or you read it and then you don't respond to it, then you never remember to go back to it. So I would just reach out, email, also go to networking events. It's huge to like meet people in person. And that's a great way to make those connections, just so you know someone on a personal level.
Yeah. For the, I think they're asking like non-standard mailing, so maybe like the feathers on the envelope. Do you have a favorite one of those? I feel like it's the feathers.
To put, yeah, feather. I'm trying to think. Now we've done like either velvet rope or like leather rope. We did a leather belly band, something like that. I've usually preferred they kind of lay flat because otherwise then that's going to cause like we need this to be in a box to mail. So
Yeah.
I usually like where we can still send it regular mail.
Speaking of like fun things, someone wanted to know if the printer that did the little acrylic mirrors for the belly bands, did they actually cut those holes to thread the ribbon through?
Yes. So
Okay.
I use Pomp and Revel. So I do use a different company here for this. And they recently moved. So I know she's not because I've reached out to her, but she's still going to be taking orders, I think, once they get settled in their new house. But she has done like stir sticks for me before. And when I had this thought, I immediately reached out to her. And that's another thing about vendors. Like if you have that good communication, efficiency, and like easy to work with, because she was like, let me do this and then let me send you a sample. And so when she sent me the sample, we didn't have the slits in it yet. And then I thought once I had, I was like, what if we put slits in it? And so then I messaged her back, emailed her back, and she said, yeah, let's do it. So let me see if I can remove this. Oh, it's got the tape on it. Oh, there we go. So you can see it's better that way. And then we made it to the width of the ribbon. And then we just could thread it
Very,
through.
very creative. I
Yeah.
love that. This person is in the market for a new Mac. Do you use a Mac computer first?
I do. And
Okay.
I would suggest, so my IT guy told me this, and it was one of those things where I was very much against it just because I wanted just a desktop. But he argued with me and said, you need to get a laptop and then a monitor to where you can plug it into it. So an Apple monitor and an Apple laptop. And it is the best decision that I've ever agreed to because I did not want to do it. He really had to talk me into it. And now we have three Apple monitors, and then all of Morgan and Gabby, they all have their own laptop, and then I have my own laptop. So like today, like I've been up and down, and Morgan's had to come to, like if we're needing to talk with each other, we can bring down our laptop. It has all the information versus like a separate laptop, then a desktop, and then everything's not communicating together. So I also would suggest to go ahead and invest in the Apple monitor because I tried to like go with like a screen, like a TV screen or something. This was probably like 3 years ago. And I immediately was like, send this back. Like, this is not good enough. So I would just go ahead and get like a large Apple monitor and then a laptop, a MacBook.
Do you know
I
what
guess
Mac
the
you
MacBook
use?
Pro.
The Pro.
Mhm.
Awesome. We only have a few more minutes, so let's try to get through these really quickly. What all is included in the proposal that goes out after the inquiry?
So typically, so on our inquiry page, they can fill out if they're interested in wedding invitations or save the dates. At one point, we had day of details there too, but really at that point, we'll deal with day of details once we've officially booked and need to talk about it. We're currently working back and forth with a proposal for a client right now, and they're wanting to see the day of details as well. So we're doing that as a separate proposal. So typically, like say this bride wants wedding invitations and save the dates, the proposal will have information about us. It'll have the proposal for the wedding invitations, what's included, if you want to upgrade to any different printing methods. And then underneath that, it has the save the dates. And then underneath that, it has like FAQs, questions, a little bit more about us. If you want to book a Zoom or a phone call, and then that is kind of the gist of what the proposal looks like.
Yeah, could you give us a little high level of what's in your welcome boxes and maybe if
Sure.
someone doesn't have the funds yet in their business to do like a full welcome box, like maybe something smaller that
But
they
it'll
could
come.
send?
Yeah, it'll come. And when you think about it, so like over the past few years, as I've worked with someone to design my website or someone to design, or a business coach, like I've received a welcome box. So if you're working with, a higher end vendor, typically you receive something back and it's really fun on the receiving end. And so I love gifts and being like a gift giver. So I love the welcome box and we're constantly reinventing it. But so right now, the welcome box, it has like our logo on the front and on the inside. And then when you open it, there's several samples. And now we try to curate it to exactly kind of what the bride's looking for in printing methods. But we also send several other styles because they may see something that they didn't know they would love, and then they'd want that as well. So we send samples of previous work. We also send wax seal samples on a card, ribbons on a card, and napkin, like our linen like napkins, a coaster. And then we also send, and all of those items are branded for Ledgewood Fine Stationery. So then they can like actually use them if they want. So they get several of the different, like they get a stadium cup, they get a shatterproof cup in a couple sizes, a stir stick, and a t-shirt. And now we're so excited. We have the Ledgewood earring. I'm actually wearing them right now, but every bride receives a pair of these earrings. We've collaborated with Bone and Arrow Designs, and so they have made these earrings, and they come on a gold foil Ledgewood Fine Stationery card, beautifully packaged. And so each bride also receives those, and a little welcome note and a handwritten note. And then we fold that into the to tissue paper with a little Ledgewood gold foil sticker on top. I might be forgetting something, but that's a little bit of what's included inside. And our brides have loved them.
That's a lot, and I may need to get some earrings.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you have professional photos taken of all your suites, or do you like ever take the photo of yourself?
I should just say I'm retired. Taking photos, like it's honestly not something I enjoy. And I've realized that. And now I'm basically, I work with Marissa Peterson Design Peterson. She's just go to my page and she's basically tagged on every single post. Once I started working with her maybe 2 years ago, I was like, I'm done. Like this is everything, like she just can just be in my head and like what I want, and it's consistent. I'm very much a matchy consistent. I want to know what I'm getting, and like she does it every time. So the majority of the time, like we are sending her every single wedding invitation suite, and if they did save the dates. We don't always do other orders as well, but like right now, we literally have a box, like we have two boxes in our studio where it says ready to ship, not ready to ship, in their photography boxes. So like say we're working on someone's save the dates right now, we'll put that in a bag, put that in the not ready to ship. And then once their invitations are here, we've got the samples, we'll put that with the bride's save the dates in the ready to ship box. And then right now we probably have like, I don't know, 7 or 8 suites to send to Marissa. And so then we'll package those up. And she's in California, so we'll ship those to her, and then she'll take the pictures and send us a gallery of them. And but you don't have to send every single piece. So say you have one that you absolutely love and you want to get pictures of it, you can find a photographer or work with Marissa. There's so many wonderful photographers and that I just love. And so you could work with a photographer to get pictures taken of a suite. Some of them have minimums. Maybe you might need to do 3 suites, but it's definitely worth the investment just to really boost your portfolio, have that consistency, and then to really just have pretty pictures of your work. And so for the collective that we're hosting, we actually have a flat lay station where you are literally bringing your wedding invitation suites, and Annie Lou Photography is going to be there teaching how to style flat lays and also get pictures of your actual wedding invitation flat lays, along with four other photographers that will be there in groups. So you will get so much content. So it's definitely something if you're needing to build your portfolio or to get pictures of. I definitely feel like that's a great investment and you will see the ROI on it just from having that and starting to attract those clients that you want.
Yes, and don't worry if you can't afford a professional photographer right now. You can always use PrintsWell's flat lay mock-ups.
Yes, which is
Please.
great.
Yes, I love them so much. Had to plug that in there.
For
Two
real. That's
more,
awesome though.
yes,
Yeah.
two more super quick questions. Have you ever had an
Okay.
issue mailing a dark envelope with white ink?
Yes.
How do you go about that?
Yes. So we had one of our amazing clients. So Jordan, so we did save the dates. We did black envelopes with white print. We mailed them. Like I forget when we mailed them. So then she's one of our sweet brides. We'll DM each other. She's always commenting on our posts on Instagram. And she DM'd me. I was at the ballpark watching my son's practice. And I was like, she was like, so no one's gotten their save the dates yet. And I was like, immediate panic, like what? Because I was like, we met, like my eyes twitching telling the story. So I was like, what? But then they started coming. It just took longer. It was just delayed. So then for her main suite that literally we're working on right now, we're doing the mist outer and then the black inner envelope so we can still include the inner envelopes. But then we've mailed some and they've arrived perfectly. So there is no rhyme or reason. It's once again, I feel like I could get on my USPS soapbox about it. Like I think it depends on where they're going, what post office, whose hands they're getting. There's really just not a rhyme or reason for it. But yes, we have had issues.
Do you print your gold foil with PrintsWell?
Yes, yes. Now we have lots of different vendors. If we're doing all gold foil or if we're doing gold foil with digital print, we use PrintsWell. That order I was just mentioning, we did everything through PrintsWell, and then we needed sculpted embossing, so we shipped that to another vendor to get that sculpted embossing look. So we definitely do all the maneuvering to get a final look for what the client wants.
Hmm. Okay, last question, and it's two questions, and I'm gonna kind of put them together, and
Okay.
I may butcher this. So whenever someone wants, let's say, a custom die cut shape, it says that the vendors have them like send the die cut shape and the quantity beforehand, but then you have to kind of go through like designing that first, to get the pricing to send to the bride. How do you go about that? Do you typically create the design first and then get a quote from the vendor and then wait to like share the proof with the client? Or do you like just get pricing? Like, how does all that work?
It's so hairy. It's such a gray
Yeah.
area. So it really depends. So several vendors have a gallery or a library of die cuts that they have already. And then it kind of depends on like which vendors you're using for what looks, to use one of those. A lot of times we end up just making a custom shape and then getting that made. That's where I feel like, and it is hard because we did so many like super custom things last year, and like at the end of the day then it's like, oh, I feel like I know we didn't charge enough for this, and that's where minimums increased because they had to. And so then when you have that buffer from the beginning, it just allows you to be like, oh, you want this shape instead of this shape, okay, let me see. We're doing a custom suite right now and it's a die cut flower. Well, now she wants a carnation. So it's like, okay, so let me get that. So it's just, and that's where with custom, it can really get out of hand quickly. Or you could say, or we could do this and this and this. Like the suite that I'm showing right now is from an amazing Texas wedding. And we did lots of it. Like it was 10 plus vendors to achieve this look. And then for the response card, we ended up going with PrintsWell's antique shape because it had that look. We could do digital printing for that, and we didn't need a custom shape, but it still looked custom. So certain things like that we can sway to be like, okay, for this piece we can use an in-house die, a die cut, but for this one it's going to have to be custom. So you can kind of just pick and choose depending on what the client looks like. Or you can have that uncomfortable conversation like, we can do this, but it's going to cost X amount extra,
Mhm.
and just see how much they want it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Well, that was awesome, Francis. Thank you so much. We're
You're
done with the
welcome.
live Q&A. All questions have been answered. Um,
Yay.
Thank you everyone that joined, and thank you, Francis, for, hosting the live Q&A and telling us about your wedding business and or your wedding stationery business and just all of your like years of knowledge. It's incredible. Just don't forget to check out PrintsWell University whenever you guys have a chance for those free resources. And we will have another live Q&A next quarter, and then the fourth quarter we'll have another one. So look, we were looking forward to all of those. I hope you guys have a fabulous rest of your day, and I'll see y'all at the next live Q&A.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.